Hello, my name is Allison Partin. This video presentation will be a discussion and analysis on the film Life and Debt by Stephanie Black and how it can be used as evidence in the case of reparations created by CARICOM. In this presentation, we will discuss the central idea of life and debt, the effects that are discussed in the film, how the government has tried to help the problem the film focuses on, the discourse of the film, how life and debt can be used in the case of reparations, and my own personal view of the film. To begin, the central idea of the film is how the International Monetary Fund, a big agency imposed by the Allied powers to eliminate another Great Depression, affected and imposed on the Jamaican economy. The International Monetary Fund acts as a bank that these Allied powers could turn to for short-term borrowing to serve their short-term trading interests. However, this bank did more harm to the country where it was founded than it did good. Some of the effects it had on the economy of Jamaica include agricultural destruction, underpaid labor, the takeover of North American goods, and the devaluation of their own currency. All of these effects play into the end of the self-sufficient economy that Jamaica once had. Because the International Monetary Fund's central plan focuses on importing and exporting goods, the agricultural part of Jamaica suffered a huge blow. More goods have become imported into Jamaica, which causes both the farmers of the country to lose out on monetary gain as well as the rise of prices of these goods, since they are not grown locally. Because there are so many products being imported, the locally grown products are at a standstill. For example, powdered milk bought in from the United States is suffocating and almost eliminating the dairy production in Jamaica. As well as this, products such as potatoes and onions are being imported instead of locally grown, which causes a loss of jobs and money for these farmers. The only standalone good that is still being locally grown are bananas in Jamaica. However, the demand for these Jamaican bananas are becoming less and less. Some of the low demand for these products from Jamaica stem from the lack of cheap labor according to the big countries and corporations. For example, because Latin American workers will work for $1 a day, the banana companies such as Chiquita, Dole, Del Monte will use those workers instead of the Jamaican workers who demand a respectable wage. It is not possible to live on such a small amount of money. Other corporations such as Haynes and Sara Lee also pulled out production of their product of Jamaica to find cheaper workers. Because of this, it is even harder to earn money, especially for the bankrupted farmers and manufacturers. These big corporations have not only taken away work from the people of Jamaica, but are also taking away local and cultural businesses. In the film, you can see that tourists are being driven down a road, and the only buildings that are shown are American-made companies such as McDonald's and Baskin-Robbins. These big companies do not do anything to help the Jamaican economy. For example, the McDonald's that are available in Jamaica refuse to use the local meat for their food, instead choosing to import their own meat. This shows just how much the big countries, such as the United States, push more imported and non-homegrown products onto the Jamaican people. Because of this, the narrator asks herself, is the Jamaica I see before me, self-ruled, a worse off place than it was when dominated by the bad-minded English? Since the International Monetary Fund took over the Jamaican economy, the currency value has been lowered dramatically. This occurred so that big countries such as the United States and Canada could have more control over these small third world countries. This also helps keep the debt Jamaica owes to these bigger countries rising. Because of the devaluation of the currency, the debt has risen 2 to 3 times each decade. In 1970, the debt Jamaica owed was $800 million. In 1980, the debt rose to $4 billion. During the time the film was created, the debt rose dramatically to $7 billion. Because of these effects, they have not only worn down the economy of Jamaica, but have worn down the country as a whole. Since Jamaica does not have the funds for their country and are instead given to the superpower countries, the conditions for the people have dwindled dramatically. The leaders of Jamaica are only allowed to spend a certain amount of money on programs such as health and education, which causes a lack of necessary buildings such as hospitals and schools to be built. Even though the International Monetary Fund did cause all of this harm to the economy of Jamaica, they did try to help the workers through two different approaches: loans to private or small-owned businesses and the establishment of free zones. To start, the International Monetary Fund created a program where they would disperse loans to local businesses to help keep them afloat. However, this program ended up being a failure. Instead of charging a decent interest rate to help the businesses, the International Monetary Fund charged twice the world interest rate. So, if a small business wanted to get a loan, the interest rate would be around 25%. However ridiculous this sounds, the leaders of Jamaica could do nothing to change this high rate, because this policy can only be changed by an 80% vote. And because high-ranking countries such as the United States, England, Canada, and Japan own more than 80% of this vote, they are not going to give up this policy that gives them financial gain. To combat the loss of work, the International Monetary Fund decided to input fenced-in manufacturing areas known as free zones. These zones would give workers $30 a week to manufacture goods, where these goods would come in and out on cargo ships. Because labor unions are banned in Jamaica, the conditions for these workers were horrible. However, if the workers did go on strike because of these conditions, they would be forced back to the free zones at gunpoint. Also, the pay the workers received was tampered with by being taxed for things that did not even really exist for them, such as health and retirement benefits. This film deconstructed, challenged, and responded to the crisis of Jamaica's economy due to the International Monetary Fund. It deconstructed the portrayal of the country of Jamaica and showed how the country actually is through the use of how tourism portrays in the country. In the media, they show that Jamaica is full of sunshine and happiness, and is a country where the climate is perfect and so are the people. However, the country is actually full of economic unrest due to the foreign takeover in the International Monetary Fund. It is also challenging how these foreign countries that are taking over are destroying these smaller third world countries like Jamaica for their own gain. In Jamaica, they are bombarding the economy with more imports and are blocking exports, which is causing the economy to dwindle. As well as this, the film responds to this dwindling economy and the aftermath that has occurred because of this International Monetary Fund and foreign takeover. This film acts as evidence as to why the people of the Caribbean deserve reparations. From the agricultural downfall to the underpaid workers, this film shows that even now, foreign countries are still controlling governments of these small third world countries and are using them for their own personal gain. Because of this, the people of these countries deserve the reparations that CARICOM has created. This film showed me how much the superpower countries such as the United States blind their citizens from how the government is controlling smaller countries such as Jamaica. They are taking over these countries not through declaring them as part of their territory, but through controlling the economy, and instead of bettering the country, they are using them for their own personal financial gain. Since I am not from a third world country, my point of view is flawed, because I have not experienced these problems firsthand. However, I do agree with the author of the film that reparations for these countries should be given.